Hi, Ted Morrissey here, and talking about my new book, Aspiring Child, a biography of Mary W. Shelley in Sonnets. And several reviews have landed and been published already, and which is very gratifying that they're all very, very good, better than I could hope, perhaps. The most recent comes from BookLife, and it is an arm of Publishers Weekly, so the review is not only appearing online at BookLife, but will be included in the print edition of Publishers Weekly in the next couple of months or so. And it begins by saying, celebrating and probing a, quote, clever mind inflamed like a Promethean torch, end quote, poet and novelist Morrissey employs the sonnet form to contemplate that richest of subjects, Mary Shelley. And I couldn't agree more about that final point there. When I started this project, I didn't intend to write 103 sonnets about Mary Shelley, or to Mary Shelley, really. But once I got into it, I was enjoying the research, reading her letters, diary entries, reviews of Frankenstein. I knew Frankenstein pretty darn well already. I'd been teaching it for 25 years at this point. So I really enjoyed the process. And so the fact that they refer to Mary Shelley as the richest of subjects, I would completely agree. My 103 sonnets, 100 actually appear in the collection, it just really began to scratch the surface in many ways of her life. And even though I bracket it between her birth and her return to England after 5 years in Italy when she was just a very young woman still. The review goes on to say, with crisp, penetrating line work, Morrissey examines how trials Shelley experienced, including stillborn children, the death of her mother, a mercurial husband who offered anemic love, and the de facto horrors of being a woman in England's Regency era. And, I think that line does a really good job of encapsulating a lot of the issues that Mary had to overcome in her life, although that's a short list, there's a lot more. But I also appreciate with crisp, penetrating line work, because I definitely set out to write, good sonnets about Mary Shelley, to Mary Shelley. That was my primary objective. It wasn't until I had dozens and dozens of them that I started to think of this as potentially a sort of biography of Mary Shelley. So while I appreciate the fact that people seem to be finding it an effective biography, my initial and my main focus was to write a bunch of really good sonnets. And so I appreciate that this reviewer, it's unsigned, of course, noted the crisp, penetrating line work. It goes on to say, several good things. It notes my two previous works that were inspired by Mary Shelley, my novels An Untimely Frost and Mrs. Saville, the latter being an actual sequel to Frankenstein. But it ends on this thought. Shelley fans will delight in Morrissey's collection, and what detail is sacrificed by the sonnet form is made up for in the fresh telling of Mary Shelley's mythic life. And again, that last part, particularly a fresh telling, you can find plenty of biographies, biographical sketches of Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley. So part of the challenge was to talk about her life in a way that maybe others before had not done. And hopefully I've accomplished that as well in Aspiring Child, a biography of Mary W. Shelley. Check out tedmorrissey.com for links, and then also just Google it and lots of things will pop up.